Hello and welcome to the second tutorial for finalToon. In this tutorial session you will learn how to use finalToon materials to assign different line style effects to different objects. We recommend that you watch the first steps tutorial for finalToon because in the first steps tutorial we have created the scene. We are now going to work on the scene, and just to give you a little reminder, we are going to take a look at the scene right now. I'm opening the render effects menu, and as you can see, finalToon is active in the render effects list. Right now we have in the default edges all kinds of edges in there, and as you can see, the default edges are enabled. This means when we now go into interactive mode, you will see that we get lines on our objects and all kinds of various line styles you can see here. When I now turn off the enable default edges, we won't see any lines at all because our objects have, let me just turn off the interactive mode here, our objects have a standard material. So each single object has the same material right now. It's a default material, standard gray, no highlights, nothing. So the first thing I would like to do is assign to the cylinder a different material. And so that we can see what's the difference, we can just go here and just change the color of the cylinder. In the renderer, I will go to the global settings and then I will turn on the shader option. So I want to have the shapes with the color of the renderer, of the 3D Studio Max renderer. So if I render now, we will get the lines, and also we will get the colors of the renderer. And as you can see, with the blue objects and blue lines, that's not really a clever thing to do, but we are lucky. We have instanced this line style. So if we change this, let's say, to a little bit more yellowish, and we just render again, you will see that we have all the line styles we want here. But still, all objects get the exact same line style, and perhaps this is not what we want. So right now there is no other way than to enable or disable the default edges. I'm going to disable the default edges right now, and we're going to learn a new way, a second option to assign line styles to an object. So I'll close the render effects menu right now because we don't need it anymore at the moment. I'll open up the material editor, and in the material editor you will see that we're able to select a special material. Let's start with the cylinder. The material we are going to choose right now is the finalToon material. I'll go ahead and select the finalToon material. And as you can see from the first impression, the material is pretty complex. It has a lot of options, and some options are similar to standard max material, some options may be new to you. The finalToon material is a real great thing, and the finalToon material is made also out of a finalToon shader. The shader is different, so if I go and choose, for example, Blinn as the standard default shader, we get a standard Blinn material. As you can see here above, we have our highlights and everything we want, so this is still a finalToon material, but with a Blinn shader. This is good if you're doing architectural visualization, technical visualization. The finalToon shader itself is great for cartoons. So if you are going to create a cartoon show, you would definitely want to use the finalToon shader. And the finalToon shader comes with a very complex shader rollout menu, and you have a lot of options and things you can adjust in the finalToon shader. But for now, let's just go back to a standard Blinn and just take a look on the difference we can have, what a finalToon material makes it different from a standard material. So as I said, we have a finalToon material, and the only difference you see now from a standard material that also has a Blinn as default is the rollout menu called finalToon Edges. So this rollout is an addition to, let's say, a standard material, and this lets you control the line style for this material only. So every object that has this material assigned is able to use this line style. To activate our local material, we just press this button here that says now use global. That would mean if we have our default lines enabled, we will get the settings of the default lines, but we don't want that right now. So we're going to use the local. So when you depress this button, you will see that the line styles, the standard or default line styles, are activated. And now we can just go up in the defaults and adjust the color so that you can see we're working here with different things. Let me just take this because we want a black line style. So, and now everything is a default line style for each effect. And if we render now, you will see here that we get actually the lines and also the intersection lines and this line styles. We can easily adjust now the line style here. So let's just say we want to have it a little bit bigger or a stronger line, and let me just copy this here, and when we render now we will get a much more defined line. And the same goes for the hidden fold lines. We start to render now. We will see the lines that are actually occluded or hidden by an object. As you can see, this is really easy. It's so easy to assign individual line styles to individual objects. And let's do the same with the box. So I'll go and choose finalToon as a material, and for now I'll keep the finalToon shader active. So this will give us a cartoon look. And the cartoon look is, as you can see here above, a really flat 2 or 3 color model, like it is done in classic cartoons. And also, let's go down and use the local line style. I'll do something different here. I'll instance it. I'll instance the line style, so I only need to adjust here. And we want perhaps this little bit bluish color and perhaps even thicker lines. So when we render now, we will see our box has blue lines and here we have black lines. As you can see, this is a really nice and easy thing to achieve. And also the great thing is we are now able to control everything based on the material or per material. And now I would like to show you also the finalToon shader. For this I will go to the cylinder material and we'll choose again the finalToon shader. And let me just discuss a little bit how it works, because the finalToon shader is a little bit different from what you know from 3D Studio Max shaders. The interesting thing here is the naming convention is a little bit different. We have no ambient, we have no diffuse. The only thing you might recognize is the specular here. But the shadow is actually the shadow color, the self-shadow color of the object. The body is the body color or diffuse color, similar to a diffuse color, and the specular is the specular color. In cartoons, you usually have one color model for the object, so the specular, the body, and shadow is usually the same. The only difference is the intensity or the brightness of the colors. And by default, finalToon takes care about this. As you can see, the shadow is 50% of the brightness of the body color. The body color is defined as 100%, and the specular is brighter. So this gives you this cartoonish look here. So you don't get real smooth shading like you see it here now. That's a smooth shading. We will see now more steps or visible shading here. Let me just add a light source, because right now the shading isn't really so visible. I'll just put a omni-light here, easy omni-light, and let's just move the omni-light a little bit here and a little bit farther away. Oops. Okay, so here we'll render again, and then you will see that our shadow or non-illuminated area is creating this kind of shadow effects or self-shadow effects on the object. So we can turn on cast shadow, and then we also should see the shadow here on the box. And as you can see, you can define every step here. Also, the control of the shadow area is a little bit interesting or strange. You can really actually define the size of your shadow area here. So if I increase the size of the shadow area, you can see that the self-shadow area or the non-illuminated areas are increased. So this is usually not physically correct. In no way this is based on any physical light computation. It's just a nice way to get some depth into cartoon characters or cartoon renderings. There are a lot of options here in the finalToon shader, and if you want to know more, we really recommend read the manual. In the manual, every single spinner is explained what it does and how it works. And we're going to do some more tutorials here, and in the other tutorials we will just use and explain the parameters as we see fit. Right now we have learned in this tutorial how to use the finalToon material, how to assign different line styles to different objects. We were able to assign a different line style, the blue lines, to the box, and we had a different line style on the cylinder. This was achieved with the finalToon material. Remember, we also had in the first tutorial, we saw that when we enable default edges in the default edges rollout menu, when we enable the default edges, all objects with a standard material will get this line style that is defined in the default edges. Right now nothing will happen because we have no more standard materials in there, so we will get all the information from the finalToon materials and not from the default edges. So let me just show you how easily we can change this. I'll go ahead and assign to the cylinder a standard material. So right now we have on the cube we have this material here. So that's the final render finalToon material with all finalToon settings and line styles. The cylinder has this material here. That's the standard 3ds Max material. No line styles at all. There's no line style or edge rollout menu. So right now I'll just render again the scene, and remember we have enabled the default edges, and as you can see, the default edges are enabled here again. And in our default edges setting, we can just take a look by opening the render effects, activating the finalToon, go into the default edges, and you can see actually we still have the yellow color we did in the beginning, so we can change it to whatever color we want and just render again, and you will see now the cylinder, because it's a default material, will get the line style of the default edges. So this is a really great and powerful feature. You can assign finalToon materials where you think you need local control about the line styles, and in all other situations you can steal away with the default edges. That's easy, just one global setting and all your renderings, especially for architectural renderings. Very often it's enough to use the default edges and don't care about finalToon materials. However, if you want to deactivate a default edge, this is not possible right now. So you can't say standard material should not receive a default edge. So how would you do that? You would just make the standard material a finalToon material, and then in the finalToon edges rollout menu, you would go use local and turn off all line styles. So right now we have turned off all line styles, or there's a shortcut. You just enable edges, turn this button off. So this disables all line styles here, and you render. And even we have enable default edges on. I'll go back into the render effects just to prove. Here it is still turned on, enable default edges, but because we use a finalToon material with disable all edges, we don't get the edges here. So this is really all you need to set up your scenes. You have the finalToon material to give you control per material, per object if you like. Then we have the default edges that work on all standard materials, and we have a combination of those. We can turn off the default edges by using a finalToon material and turn off the lines in the rendering. We suggest that you work through also the other tutorials and the other chapters we have on the CD, and also read the manual. It has all the information you need. It explains in more detail all of the settings.